Nest Podcast, your weekly home for sports news, video game reviews, and hot takes with your hosts, Brandon, Zach, and Justin. Enjoy the show.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Nest Podcast. This is episode number 95, the Richard Dent episode presented by Sportszilla. I'm your host, Brandon. Joining me is my co-host, Zach, and my special guest for the evening from the McDojoShow, Mig-E.
What's poppin'?
What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. Just enjoying another quarantine day. How about you guys?
Man, I'm living life pretty much as normal. Going to work, coming home, not going anywhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
that's
better than this, man.
That's like our normal routine anyway. So the coronavirus wasn't that big of a deal for us. The only thing that it really impacted was my 10-year-old daughter had to do school from home.
Oof.
And my son had his baseball season cut short. So those are the two things that we're suffering from. But other than that, it's just been sitting at home, business as usual.
Yeah, so that's not bad then, man.
No, not too bad at all. Now, I said this is episode 95, the Richard Dent episode. First off, I just want to comment on how awesome of a porn name Richard Dent is.
He'll leave a dent in you.
Big Dick Rent. Big Dick Dent, I should say. That's an awesome porn name.
Yep. / wrestling name, if you think about it, man. You know, you got a multi-brand right there.
When I was looking up the athlete for this episode and I saw that, I was like, dude, that's a dick joke waiting to happen.
Yep. It's perfect, man.
So, Mig-E, you're one of the voices on the McDojoShow. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that they may not be familiar with what the show is or what the McDojo Life is all about?
For sure. All right. So McDojoShow is under the McDojo Life brand, and McDojo Life is dedicated to calling out these McPhonies in martial arts. So I know a lot of people will see online like these guys that do these no-touch knockouts, you know, that just seem way ridiculous. Well, the end goal of McDojo Life, what Rob does, the guy's Rob, his name is, guy that runs it, is to, again, call these guys out and, you know, hopefully save some people some money, because if you notice, a lot of these guys have a pretty decent following where people don't question anything. And yeah, man, so Rob does that, and shout outs to him for that, man, because well, I know growing up, my parents never took me to martial arts classes or schools because of that. They were like, oh, this is some weird cult stuff, you know, we're going to stay away from that. So, you know, again, shout outs to Rob for that. And then the McDojoShow itself is, again, the podcast of McDojo Life, and we kind of talk about mainly combat sports, whether it be local to the Jacksonville area where the show is mainly based out of, or on the national level like UFC, Bellator, 1FC, and all that.
Yeah, and it's a great resource for, you know, UFC and the like. So if you're interested in those sports, even as a casual observer, check them out and they'll keep you up to date on the latest happenings a lot more in depth than we do on our show. And it is an awesome thing that, you know, Rob's going around, and I know that documentary is going to be badass when it
man, I can't wait, man. I'd watch the trailer like at least a few times a month because it just pumps me up, man.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And, you know, like you said, exploiting the phonies is what it's all about.
He might bust the Tiger King of karate, call it Karate King, you know? We don't know. And everything's just going to happen there.
I think the Tiger King of karate already exists, and it's the West Virginia ninja or whatever.
Lil Wayne, the guy from Jerry Springer, that guy, because there's a crazy one who has to be, you know, Jerry Springer scripted, but like the guy is amazing in his role.
White guy with a mullet.
Yeah, I think so. It's him. He's just like a karate or Judy chopping.
Judy Chop. That's the guy.
Yeah. Lil Wayne. Yeah, dude.
Oh my god, that guy's hilarious.
Yeah, dude, that's the only times I've seen myself watching Jerry Springer and taking it semi-serious. Because I'm like, all right, man. I know this guy got pregnant by a midget or, you know, whatever they do to sell the show, but I mean, to me, Lil Wayne is still real. Damn it.
Hey, until Rob proves otherwise.
Exactly. And Rob, do not go after him, please. Don't ruin my childhood, man.
Yeah.
Please.
Leave it be. Leave it be. Judy Chop.
Yep. Judy, you got your Judy chops and your Nikki chops.
Yeah.
Canabacca. No, says I. Ninja Star.
He's a 3rd degree Copenhagen.
Oh, he's amazing. He is amazing. If you don't know what we're talking about, just Google it.
Yeah, man.
Redneck
YouTube
Ninja. It'll come up.
During these tough times, you need that Lil Wayne positivity.
Yeah, it'll bring a smile to your face.
Hell yeah.
Mig-E, I know you normally talk about combat sports, but do you follow anything else? Because
Oh man, so I live in the great, maybe not so great state of Washington, depending on the time of year. And ever since moving out here, man, in the place I'm at, there's not much to do. So I've really made an effort to follow sports. Like this past football season, I made it an effort to follow the Jags from preseason towards, whenever we get eliminated, which is, whenever that is.
week 6 for the Jags.
Pretty much, man. Freaking saw the draft this year, but really big on NFL. Trying to play around with the NBA, man. Like, unfortunately, Supersonics no more. But kind of followed the Blazers because they're like, I guess, the hometown team at this point. And then playing around with baseball, honestly, too, man. And shout outs to the Koreans for giving us some baseball so far.
Yeah. Have you tuned into any of that?
Oh, dude, it's great, man. Like the last broadcast I saw, it was kind of weird because like the commentator was just red as hell. I don't know if he was just like sunburnt, or if he was just in the game. But the guy was just again, a really weird shade of red.
Who knows? Maybe he was just so passionate about what was going on, or maybe his blood was boiling because he was watching baseball, but he knew that he wasn't watching the major leagues because they were in a ridiculous contract dispute.
I've heard about it, man. That's a really tough thing. It's like didn't they make some statement saying the more games they play, the more money they're going to lose? Or
well, yeah, kind of in a sense, because they would be paying the players but not able to collect revenue. So the more games they have to pay the players without collecting that revenue, they lose more money. So I mean, I get the logic behind that statement, but I mean, all that this has done, all that Major League Baseball and the Players Association, all that they have done throughout all of this is they've drawn a line in the sand and they're telling us, pick a side, because you've got fans that are legitimately pissed off at players over all this.
Yeah. I mean, we know how these sports organizations are. Their job, in a sense, is during a time like this is to paint the players in a bad light. Because, again, if that happens, it won't be as bad when, some of these owners can actually afford a little something. I get it, with the logistics of contracts, no one saw this coming. So I guess no one could predict that they'd be in this weird rut where they can't afford to pay a $10 million contract this year.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I do understand that. But there are things in place. Like if you get injured, you still get paid whether you play or not. So I mean, I do see the difference because they're not able to attract in any revenue. And even with that injured player, they're still going to bring in a shit ton of money.
Yep.
Yeah, we got some trolls jumping in the comment section.
Oh
already.
Man, block him, please.
Yeah, you can silence those haters.
Yeah, nerds already jumping in the comment section.
Right.
They're just mad because they don't have their own show going right this second.
Yeah, they're mad because Connect 4 is not a real sport,
Whatever. That we're talking to our old buddy Wallow J, one of the other voices from the McDojoShow. He's jumping in our comment section on the live feed. But basically, Mig-E, what it is, and for the listeners out there that aren't keeping up with everything that's been going on with Major League Baseball, because I know during the coronavirus and now what's going on in the world, baseball's probably been at the back of everyone's minds. No one's really paying attention to it. So I wanted to really look into it and basically put it out there for everybody to decide whose side are you on? Do you believe that the players should ultimately win out in these negotiations, or are you more a fan of where the owners are coming from? Because it's been a roller coaster. It's been back and forth, and it's crazy. Zach and I, we told you initially that in March they came to an agreement for a prorated salary. So basically saying whatever amount of games we play this season, that's how much we want to get paid for. If we play 82 games, we want to get paid 82 games worth based off of what we make regular, normal, and the owners jumped at that. They said, good to go. Sounds good to us. Boom, done. Apparently there were some underlying or hidden clauses in that now that the owners are pulling that shit back up, but we'll get to that. Don't worry. So the players, they were like, well, we'll just ride it out, wait until we can play, then we're going to get paid. About a month and a half ago, the owners came back and they finally realized, wait, if fans can't come to these games, then we're not going to make any money. Fuck, we're going to lose a lot of money if we have to pay up all these contracts and we're not able to charge people $12 for a hot dog and $15 for a can of beer. Uh-oh, we're in trouble. We better try to renegotiate. Hey, here's our new proposal. And then they came back with a very, very lowball offer.
Oof.
They came out initially and they said, hey, we want to salvage an 82 game season. We want to give you an opportunity to play half of a baseball season and make some money. The problem is they fucked their star players in the process in this proposal, because if you normally made $285,000, if that's what you would get paid for a regular year, you were good with it because you were going to make $262,000. So you just have to make a small little pay cut, like $20,000. If you make 17.7 million or more, you're going to make $7.84 million. So, I mean, that's $10 million less for you if you make 17.7. If you happen to make somewhere in the ballpark of $36 million, like a Mike Trout or a Garrett Cole, then you're getting fucked. You lose 77% of your salary.
Man.
So picture yourself going to work, both of you, and your owner coming to you and saying, hey, I want you to do the same job that you're doing today, but for 77% less pay. You're going to tell them to go fuck off. You're going to walk right out and go demand more money, strike. If you're in a union, you're going to do whatever it takes. So MLB shot that down, or the players shot that down, and they came back with their rebuttal. And this is where the roller coaster was at up until about an hour and a half ago. And then we got more breaking news. So the players' rebuttal, they came back and said, okay, look, we'll play 114 games. So more games. That's given them more TV revenue and things of that nature. We want our money, but we'll take a little bit of a pay cut. We'll agree to some of the pay cuts. We'll agree to some of that. But we also, for our top tier players, we want deferred payments till 2021 and 2022 on those contracts, because they were getting screwed over big time. So they wanted to take care of the stars of the league, which if you're an owner of one of these teams, you want to do anyway, because that's the franchise that you build around. So it makes sense to take care of those guys. Let's see. The big thing in that is that some of these players are still concerned about coronavirus and the effects of, if they get sick, the long-term effects on their bodies and stuff like that. So this proposal had an opt-out for any player. If they chose to sit out, they could. And that was being kicked around a little bit. And then about an hour ago, Jeff Passan tweeted out that there was some movement, and that the MLB said, no, we're not going to do that. Here's our new proposal. Zach, do you have that pulled up so you can kind of give that? Because I don't have that handy.
I don't, but I can pull it up real quick. I know it's going to be an 80 game season. And as far as I know, they're going to get paid in full.
I think it's a 50 game
Oh, is
season.
it 50? Let's see.
In fact, I know it's a 50 game season because earlier when I was talking about the contract that they signed in March and the owners found a loophole in there that they're pulling back up, it's saying that in that original statement that they had the option to dictate the length of a season. So they're pulling that clause out to say, hey, we're only going to agree to pay for 50.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
I guess that makes sense because, like you said earlier, they're not making any money. This is costing owners money to put these games on. So a shorter season makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. I'm still trying to find a good article.
What I see happening from all this is that they're going to try to meet in the middle and have like a 70 game season where the players agree to pay cuts.
Yeah.
Because if this works out the way adults would work it out, they would negotiate and come to an agreement or an accord. If they decide to be babies and bitches about it, then it'll go into a full-blown strike and a war between the owners and the players. And with a CBA coming next season, they definitely don't want that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, from the player standpoint, it totally makes sense to want to either get paid what you're worth or to just call this season a wash, because it's going to be a shitty season anyway, because it's short and we're already in June. People would have been getting, their shit together already by now. They would have gotten into the groove of things, and now you've sat at home for 2.5 months or whatever, and then you have to do another spring training. So I get it from that standpoint too. But I mean, if they do end up agreeing to this shorter season, I can't wait to watch baseball. Like literally.
Blake Snell said he's already in the off season getting ready for 2021. Mm-hmm. He knows he's not going to play this season regardless. So whenever you see things like that or hear things like that, it really makes you think that there won't be a season.
Right.
Max Scherzer is one of the 8 players that's on the Player Association Executive Committee or whatever. And after the initial offer from MLB, he said that there's no reason to even submit a counteroffer because they're that far apart.
Right.
They did eventually submit an offer, but I mean, he was that turned off from their initial offer.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense. It's two opposite sides of the coin. The owners really only care about winning and making money, and they can't do one of those. So this is a huge stalemate. I mean, absolutely colossal, because you've got the players who, without them, there's no sport, but also at the same time, without owners, there's no teams and there's no billionaires to fund all these players. So you got to have both.
So who's the asshole? Who's holding up negotiations?
Man, honestly, I got to be like this. You got to see what owners, what else they own. Because the ones that are, losing the most money are going to be the most cutthroat for this, honestly. Same with the players, too. I mean, shit, some of them are actually helping out the cities. Or I know, like, I've seen the Mariners doing food drives where they themselves with their spouses are making food to hand out for others because they got nothing else to do,
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure of any specific players, but I'm sure there's been players that have offered to help pay for the workers at their stadium.
Oh, yeah, workers at the stadiums. Yeah, I know, like NBA players were doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned, these owners and what else they're doing and all that thing. Down at the minor league level of the sport, we have a now ongoing thing called Down on the Farm presented by Old Appalachian Hemp, that we talk about the minor leagues a little bit and try to get the perspective from that angle. And the Oakland Athletics, they decided just to stop paying their minor leaguers. They had signed up initially that they were going to give them, I think, $400 a week or whatever it was. But then once June hit, they're like, yep, that's Dunskies. So now those guys just got cut off. It's like, hey, get off the teat. That owner's worth $2 billion.
Man.
And his farm system is destroyed now because a lot of those players won't be able to come back. I mean, they'll have to go get a job, and then by next year, spring training time, who knows what they'll be doing? You know, can they afford to live where they're living right now?
And here's the kicker. They're still under a contract, so they can't go somewhere else and start trying to pitch and play. They're still property of the A's. They're just not getting paid. And the reason for that is because something in the contract or whatever has them listed instead of employees as seasonal apprentices because they're not at the major league level. It's just bullshit.
That's horrible. And like again, I'm pretty ignorant with baseball still. Obviously, just trying to catch up. But weren't they cutting a lot of minor league teams too last year or this year?
Yeah, they've had this. They were talking about cutting a lot of leagues, and then the coronavirus happened and all that stuff, and then they went ahead and gave the axe to a lot of them. One of the leagues that they had to cut is the Appalachian League, which a lot of our listeners from East Tennessee are familiar with. That's the Johnson City Cardinals, the Elizabethton Twins, the Kingsport Mets, all those teams gone. And that's a lot of what that area knows for entertainment, you know?
I mean, I grew up in Savannah, and back then we had the Savannah Sand Gnats, who are now the Savannah Bananas. That's part of some alternate minor league, you know, which is awesome because they're getting these kids some money. But I mean, for us back home, I mean, that's all we had was to go to the stadium and watch the Sand Gnats play, you know?
Yep. Good summer nights spent not out being in trouble somewhere, just
exactly going there, sneaking a brewski or two.
Right. Stuff like that. You're not supposed to tell that. You're supposed to make it sound wholesome and fun.
So that families I had my first non-alcoholic beer. Yeah, go Sand Gnats. Woo.
Yeah, and you can get in for cheap. You can have good seats. You know, you don't have to sit up.
They have the little theme nights that make it even better. You know,
the Jumbo Shrimp every Friday night they have firework displays.
Yeah,
that's pretty much like most cities' 4th of July.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, for me, like when my wife was in flight school, they had the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. Unfortunately, I was always working when they had games, but they had these like crazy Mardi Gras night or all these random things, you know, firework display. I think even movies like before or after games. I'm like, what the hell? That's so cool.
Those motherfuckers have awesome promotions. They've got their stadium listed on Airbnb right now.
I saw up to like 10 people can get it for a night. Obviously, they have to have an employee on site, but you can do pretty much whatever you want. I mean, honestly, I'd spend the whole night running the bases, you know, do my own little home run derby and stuff, being all real immature.
Oh, yeah, definitely a home run derby, but we'd have to like push in a fence because I don't think any of us are jacking 350. You know?
Yeah, not even off of a tee.
It's worse off of a tee, actually.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
You're gonna go way. No.
There's no velocity coming back with you.
I'd have to wiffle ball it, honestly.
You need that science. Yeah, we would play a good wiffle ball game for sure. I bet I could strike out both of you with a wiffle ball.
Oh, I know I'd lose, man. But I'd have to do like, honestly, my highlight would be going up to bat, pulling a little Sammy Sosa, little, you know, all that, this and there. Just living in the moment, even though I'm horrible at baseball.
But, you know, yeah, I'm pretty terrible too, but it would be a blast. But you were talking about the minor leagues, what the owners and stuff are doing there. And like I said, the Oakland A's, they cut their salary. How smart does that make somebody like Kyler Murray look, who chose to play football instead of going and playing baseball for 1 days?
Yeah, because that would have been him. He would have probably been in AA, and he wouldn't have a job.
And we talked about it at the time. He was going directly to the NFL as a first-round draft pick. He was going to make a ton of money his first year, whereas he would have been in the minor leagues, like Zach said, making peanuts. And now he would be out of a job. Instead, this year, he gets to throw the ball to D-Hop and Larry Legend.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, that's insane. It's crazy to think about because I was under the opinion that he was a little too small to be in the NFL, and that, you know, all these huge contracts in baseball would have been really great for him. But as it turns out, he made the right decision. I mean,
lucky dude.
Even if he peters out of the NFL, he still made way more money than he would have. And at this point in time, he would have had to some regular job. And like you said, Brandon, he couldn't just go sign with the Astros or the whoever's because he's still under contract, and he would just have to sit there.
Yep.
So.
But other teams are a little bit more fortunate, Mig-E. Some of the teams have signed up to say, "Hey, we're going to pay you guys regardless." I had them written down, but I can't find it in my notes right now. But I know it was the Royals, I can't remember. But a few teams, 4 or 5 teams, have already said, "Yeah, we're paying these guys for the duration of the time that we're out." Yeah, good for them. But even though it's not much money, and then some players have stepped in and said, "Okay, we'll chip in and cover the costs."
That's good.
So there again, these players who get paid by the owners are dipping into their money to pay the other players that the owners are too cheap to pay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of shit.
So
but
who's the actual bad guy?
Who's the assholes? That's kind of the theme of the show. Who's the asshole?
Yeah, that's what it comes in. I've noticed when these organizations do this, because it's crazy. We kind of forget sometimes what kind of dollars we're talking about. Because like for me, especially, I'm a UFC fan, MMA fan. The money in UFC is chump change compared to something like the MLB, NBA, or NFL, where those dudes are making hella money just for showing up to practice.
Yep.
When you have a fighter who pretty much will get paid if he has a fight, and then also if he wins, determines how much you get. All of this complicated, whatever.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because John Jones, one of the faces of the sport, is set to just relinquish the championship and walk away over what? Money.
Mm-hmm.
He gets paid enough for what he brings to the table. And it's hard to argue with him. I mean, I get it, Dana White. I get his out of the ring antics do damage his stock. Yep. They do lower his value. But you know what? He's still a champ. He's still
bringing in money to the organization and eyes. I mean, that's one thing, man. When it comes to a guy like Jones, like, I disagree with a lot of what he does outside the octagon. But he is like that guy that if casuals see his name, guess what? They're buying that pay-per-view, inviting some buddies over, or they're going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and drop money there. So a guy like Jones will bring the sales,
We talked about it on the latest McDojo show. That's why Aldo was most likely thrown on that card to get the first shot at that belt that's vacated, because he's a name.
That's why Connor, for example, has so much ease getting fights, because they're like, who cares how good or bad he's gotten from not being an active competitor? We know that the moment people hear Conor McGregor, they're just going to go throw down money.
I mean, he coined the phrase "red panty night" himself.
Yeah,
he knew what was going on even then. He was like, "Hey, when you get called to fight McGregor, you're getting paid."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think DC today actually commented on that, saying that if there was no McGregor, you wouldn't have these fighters making millions in the MMA realm. Because again, it's true. You don't have that. Because like speaking of Jones, he's now talking about going to boxing, I believe.
Yeah,
I think it's just a threat. So to add some value, because let's be real, he'd make more money there.
He would for sure, but I think a seasoned boxer would piece him up, because
of course, man,
he's been training all this other shit in the meantime. But I think at a certain point, you kind of have to take what John is saying with a grain of salt at the moment. I think he's very bitter because they didn't want to pay him, and I mean, I don't know if he'll relinquish the belt or not or whatever, but. Honestly, you got to kind of agree with him. I think so. I mean, who else is fighting right now? That huge. Well, Connor doesn't have anything on the table. Khabib is definitely not.
Yeah.
There's no other superstars that
man. And then like for John too, in my opinion, aside from what he's doing outside, it's like the fact that he's one of the most paid fighters. People are like, dude, you're getting fed. You're feeding your family. You can afford to not fight for so long, compared to guys that are, I guess, lower tier that. They're not making much, to where most of their money's going to paying their camp and travel and stuff.
Well, and then again, that's on the UFC. I mean, that's their decision to pay those guys such little money, and I think that's well known in the MMA.
Oh yeah, in that realm, man. Because I mean, too, like looking at like we mentioned, the MLB owners, they're not making money right now. Dana knows UFC's not making that much money, because guess what? They can't do ticket sales,
right?
So they do want to save as much money as they can right now, I guess, to pay fighters in the future, since we don't know, when things are going to get back to normal.
Right. And I can't imagine the UFC is making a whole lot off of pay-per-view buys, because they have to share that money with ESPN.
Exactly.
I feel like they made a lot more, or they will make a lot more money when they run pay-per-views from the Apex, Vice running them from the ViceStar, because it's a smaller venue. It's less to light it, less to get everything going.
Yep.
And I know that their rent is a lot cheaper there than it is at any of these big arenas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they pretty much own, everything too.
And they're still selling it for $65. So guess what? That's more profit on the
for them.
top.
Exactly. And I feel like, it's going to set a precedent for a lot of things. Like, again, what I like about Korean baseball is the crowdless events. Then the UFC now is doing the crowdless events. I feel like that's going to be a new trend even when things are back to normal, because let's be real, I actually enjoy watching the fights a lot more now with the crowdless, because I can hear the punch. I can hear them talk shit to each other. You can hear the commentators giving tips, and they're like, oh shit, we're saying too much. We got to be quiet. It's so funny. That's value.
Yeah, you can hear everything that the coaches are saying. I really enjoy it too. It's I don't think it'll last. I think the second that Dana,
when they can make money, they're gonna make money. Don't get me wrong, but if they can do it every once in a while, man, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they've learned that people will still watch, regardless. I mean, even a random fight night where T Wood is the main event. People still tune in and watch.
Yeah, there was nothing else to watch. That's what's like crazy about sports right now is dude, stuff I've never cared for before, I found myself watching. Like ESPN's doing all these esports now. I'll watch it for a little bit because I'm like, I ain't got nothing else to do.
Yeah. So you watched the fight night the other night?
So I fell asleep, man. I had one beer, and I'm such a lightweight where I pass out. So I fell asleep, woke up for Mackenzie Dern's fight, fell asleep again, woke up just in time when they were starting Woodley versus Burns. I was like, oh, cool. I'm up for the main event.
And that fight put you to sleep, right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
See, now it's funny that you say that, because I saw Mackenzie Dern. I thought she looked good in her fight. Then after that, I saw Spike Carlisle, and that dude.
Oh, the ginger dude.
Yeah. The alpha ginger.
Yeah.
Super fan of that guy now. He is insane. The fight started and he just ran across the ring like full on Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat, just kicks and feet and hands just all flying at once. And I mean, he ended up losing a decision, but he was insane.
Energy, man.
The whole fight was like that. He was bouncing off the cage the entire time. Energy for days. It was fun to watch. And I was hyped for that one. I was even tweeting. I was live tweeting that fight. I was enjoying myself. Then let's see. The co-main happened, and that was a decision. So who was that?
That was I gotta pull that up now.
Can't even remember. Can't even think off the top. I know it was a decision, but I can't remember. And I remember being like, okay, that kind of brought me down, but I need to stay up because the main event's coming up, and it put me to sleep.
Yeah, dude, it's like all right. So that fight was heavyweight was Blagoy Ivanov versus Augusto Sakai.
Yeah, and it was a decent fight. It went the distance, and they banged the entire time. Man. Yeah, they banged the entire time. I obviously didn't remember either of their names, but you just said them, and I don't remember them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dude, I had to look it up because again, like the only fight I was really interested in was I obviously wanted to see Mackenzie Dern. Women's MMA, the freaking savages. She got a leg lock. I love that leg lock shit.
First in UFC history.
Yes,
for a
first
woman.
Women's MMA leg lock. Yeah. That's right. And then you had again that main card, which we had Woodley for a second on the McDojo show, so I had to support him. And
that's right. He called in and
he said,
laid down the gauntlet.
Yep. Yeah, man. So watch that, and it's I don't know. I think his time might be coming up, man, because this guy's been fighting for a while.
He's 38 years old.
Yes, and that's a 38 where at least I'm saying at least 14 years of fighting, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. And he was a wrestler before that. I mean, he's been fighting for fucking ever. And
exactly, man.
And I think he has nothing else to prove. He was the champion for a long time. I mean,
exactly.
He beat Stephen Thompson. He beat Damian Maia. He did everything he had to do. And he gave it another shot, and it was commendable of him to do that. But I think now more than ever is a time for him to just
Yeah, man. Because the best way to think about it is this way: like with any sport, it's better for these guys to stop while they're ahead rather than commit to the sport and just have their body break down, deteriorate at a way faster rate than it would have if had they just not quit instead.
Yep.
And that's like I think he's going to be facing that decision pretty soon. Because plus, man, it's what's the point now? Just enjoy your kids, enjoy your life, and who knows? I'm pretty sure someone will pick him up for like a commentating gig or something. There's something out there for him.
He used to do stuff.
I think it was Fox though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's got
pick him up.
experience. So yeah, he could be picked up by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, his opponent is the real deal for sure. I mean,
Gilbert Burns, man, I follow him through the grappling circuit, and dude, the kid's good. Like I didn't realize how good his striking was for being a grappler.
Mhm.
Like he last fought at the first crowdless UFC event, which was UFC Brasilia. Kicked ass, man. And again, seeing him do what he did to Woodley, control that fight, he almost won in the first round.
He almost stopped him almost immediately. Yeah,
Dude did a great job. And again, he's an up and comer in a sense. And for him to be doing that, man, like that's cool too, and that fight really shows you, in a sense, the circle of MMA, like the circle of life of MMA. You'll have a guy who was great and who's still pretty good. Obviously, he's in the UFC for a reason, but his time's come and gone. And now you have this new blood coming in there, kicking ass, making a name for himself, and hopefully we get to see more from him.
So, yeah. So Burns' teammate is Usman.
Yes,
Usman beat Woodley for the belt.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So how much of that knowledge do you think was passed on during the training camp and all that for Burns?
Oh, it for sure played a thing, and I mean, if you look to even Woodley kind of took that into effect because he kind of fought the same. He was just cautious from what I saw.
And that's just how he fights now, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's the chosen one anymore.
Exactly. Being older. And then too, like at least with Kumaru's also a wrestler. Gilbert Burns again is a jiu-jitsu specialist. So that really gets interesting from a wrestler because they're just focused on taking down when the jiu-jitsu guy wants to go down.
Mm-hmm. But they both pieced up Woodley.
Yep. Oh yeah, man. Again, dude, it's and I'll repeat this again. I think his time is coming to an end. Like again, he's done great things for the sport, but there's nothing wrong with stepping aside after having a career like his.
Yeah.
Right. No one can last forever in the UFC.
Exactly, man. You got these freaks of nature like Alistair Overeem, who's just turned 40 the other night and won a fight against Walt Harris. It was a crazy good fight.
Yeah, it was.
But I mean, that's the heavyweight division, for example. It's just a different category. The 170 welterweight where Tyron is, a lot of young guys in there, man. A lot of guys who can still handle that weight cut. We don't know if Tyron's body is getting to that point where that weight cut just isn't easy anymore. It's a lot of things.
I mean, his body looks like the weight cut isn't a big deal. He's always been just chiseled.
Yep.
I think it's just he's a little bit older, a little bit slower.
Yeah, man, because we don't know what that recovery looks like,
yeah, I mean,
because at the end of the day, like I know these athletes from any organization are way limited to what supplements they can take. They can't just walk up to GNC and grab whatever they want. They have to make sure it's clear with whatever anti-doping agency they're under.
Yeah, they don't want a picogram pulsing situation on.
They don't want to Barry Bonds it, man.
No, not one bit. But now Burns called out Usman after the fight, which is kind of weird because they are teammates.
Yeah.
So
dude, the kid does not care. Like it's especially for him, man. This couldn't be a better opportunity if you think about it. It's like I get it, it's your teammate, but to him, this is probably what his life dream is, to be that fighter. Like look at the Brazilians, how they are. They're just tougher. They don't care sometimes. If they have to fight the teammate, we're fighting each other. Afterwards, we're family again. But to them, it's business, straight to the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess it'll be like the episodes of Ultimate Fighter where you had to fight your teammate.
Yep.
You train together and then you fight together and then have to make up and be friends at the end. It's weird.
Yeah, man. These guys that can treat it like a business do great. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's like, it sucks that this sport requires you, in a sense, hurting your friends if you fight each other. But I mean, it's any sport, dude.
Well, and some guys can't handle it, like TJ and Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just could not handle the
Mhm.
competitiveness. So eventually it led to them splitting and going their own separate ways.
Then be able to do it.
Isn't that why DC went down to light heavyweight, because he didn't want to fight Cain Velasquez?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Didn't
Out of
want to fight a
respect.
teammate. Yep.
Yeah.
Kane was the champ at the time, and DC said, all right, you got it, champ.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
man, it's
mean-
an interesting world.
It would be hard to do that. Just think about it. Like, would it be hard for you to fight Wallow?
Well, that's a horrible example because I know I would go there proud as hell and get my ass beat. But I mean, I definitely understand that. Like, to me, it's interesting. Like, I've trained MMA out here. I've tried to like get into the sport to get a fight, but never worked out well, man. I have this weird thing where with a teammate, I can't go as aggressive at times because I respect them. I just feel like
it's your boy.
Exactly. It's a whole different thing. But like from the perspective of Usman and Burns, I feel like Burns wants this because he knows Usman's game. He's trained with Usman. Usman wouldn't want it because first off, that's his teammate. But then at the same time, he has to kind of worry saying, shit, have I shown this kid too much? Have I?
You got to get new tricks.
Exactly. It's one of those weird things, man. It's a shitty part about the sport of MMA.
Now, if you were in, I guess Burns would be the one that would have to do this in this situation. Would you go to another team, another camp to train for this fight?
Honestly, I could see the kid doing that, man. Like, he wants it, especially in a time like now where we just don't know. We essentially don't know how the sporting world's going to look next month, you know? So if you can get that payday ASAP, fuck it. That's what I'm thinking this kid's thinking.
What was he ranked? I think it was like 9th or something before he fought Woodley. It was something around.
I'd have to look that up. Yeah, because again, the kid's been very active this past year.
That's got to be a hell of a jump then, because Woodley had to have been number 1.
He was, yeah.
Just coming off of the title loss.
Yeah, I if it were me and I was the shot caller, I would feel like Burns would have to beat someone else first before he gets the shot at Usman. I mean, obviously he did great, but he did great against a very aged Tyron Woodley.
Yep, so I'm looking right now, and I don't know if they've updated it because Tyron Woodley's still the number 1 contender, welterweight. Gilbert was ranked number 6.
Yeah, they wait a good amount of time before they update after a fight.
So yeah, that's still impressive as hell that the 6th seed went against the number 1 guy. And
do you have
on top
there?
What's up?
Do you have the full rankings there for welterweight?
Yes.
Where's Masvidal at?
He's number 3.
Okay, I would love to see Masvidal and Burns.
Exactly, that'd be a great fight to set up because I know people want to see Colby Covington versus Usman, which was an amazing fight, of course, until Usman was able to break his jaw.
Yeah,
dude, that'd be a great one. Let them, hopefully, I guess there'd be a different outcome with Colby and Usman to the point where maybe Gilbert won't have to fight Usman.
Yeah,
but no matter what, that'd be a great fight, especially with we're almost at the 1-year anniversary of the knockout heard around the world where Masvidal took out Askren.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're not already at the year anniversary.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think
that's crazy that was a year ago.
Exactly, man.
I think Masvidal should be hyped up a little bit more. They hyped him up with that BMF belt and all that stuff.
Yep.
And then he kind of died down. I think that's a superstar that the UFC needs to build up.
It most definitely is, man. What kind of hurt him though, I feel like, is just what happened at Radio Alley at Super Bowl this year, where they had him and Usman kind of confront each other, but multiple people that didn't have an idea who these guys were kind of filmed what was going on. They're like, dude, this is the most staged shit. What are these guys doing? Because
had WWE's up to some shit over here.
Exactly. They're like, well, I didn't know they're going to promote No Mercy over here, SummerSlam.
Right.
So, but, to that point, Masvidal is kind of sitting there wondering what's next because Usman won't fight him. According to the man himself, Usman's scared. Usman's running from
ducking him and stuff. And dude, just within that weight class, you also have, I guess, McGregor wanting to make a comeback too, which will kind of fuck stuff up because he gets what he wants.
Like Wallow said, though, Dana wants him to stick to the 155, and that's the most important division in Dana's eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Dana wants to just get that belt off of Habib.
Oh yeah, no, he's wanting it for the longest, and the guy still has it. Then unfortunately, for those that don't know, his father is in a coma due to COVID-related stress on the body. Plus, he's stuck in Russia with COVID restrictions from travel and all that. So, we don't know when we'll be able to see him fight again.
And I know Dana's salivating, waiting for August so that he can just strip him, because it'll be that year mark, so that he can take it contractually and just throw it on Connor or whoever else he wants to. Justin Gaethje, I guess, is the most deserving.
Yes,
that's 100% going to happen.
They'll probably just put Gaethje versus Connor for it. Knowing Dana, it'll be something like that.
A big money draw, big blockbuster summer pay-per-view. It's coming.
Yeah, it'll be fucked up where even if Connor loses, he'll make more money without walking away with the title,
It's crazy.
That's the world of sports, man.
Absolutely. His contract will be for like $37.4 million. And even if he loses, and the winner will get, $27,000.
Exactly. Some ridiculous number like that.
Yep. They'll co-headline it with like Amanda Nunes or something, and she'll make like $3 million or something.
Yeah. But speaking of her, she's fighting. Is it this Saturday that they have 250? I think there's a UFC event this weekend.
Ooh.
I know it's Nunez. She's a main event. Yeah. The 6th, she's going to be fighting against Felicia Spencer. Which, I feel like right now Amanda's the current GOAT.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. You're not going to get an argument here. Joe Rogan said it back about Ronda a million years ago that she was the best in the world and there wasn't a close second. Amanda Nunes took that and ran with it. Dude, and there's not even a second like remotely close anymore.
The moment she beat Cyborg, I knew that she's the best. Like, I'm a diehard Cyborg fan.
You're at the right spot, Cody. Every Monday night, this is the right spot. Thanks for watching, buddy.
To Mig-E's point, when she beat Cyborg, the way she beat Cyborg, cemented, sealed the deal.
That was it, And I'm a huge Cyborg fan. Like I watched her debut fight for Bellator. That's how much I like this chick. The fact that someone was able to take her out cemented Amanda's place in history.
Punked her.
Yeah.
Punked Cyborg.
Destroyed her the way Cyborg destroys people.
Yeah. Cyborg, the scariest woman in the whole world up until Amanda.
Up until then, exactly, man. And it's crazy to think that, dude, I don't see Amanda losing for a while.
Yeah, it'll have to be some either just absolute psychopath that comes along, or
some unheard of freak of nature who right now due to COVID is just training every single day because they have nothing better to do.
Right. But what's crazy is Kat Zingano beat her years ago. And obviously she's grown past that and, gotten better and everything. But it's just weird how different shit happens and that equals this person going this way and this person going the other way. Because Kat's now in Bellator. She hasn't really done a whole lot. She's probably at the end of her career. And now Amanda's this fucking mega super
thriving, dude. Yeah. It's like,
do you know if it had anything to do with a coaching change or a changing of a gyms or whatever?
For Kat? I know, like, dude,
for Amanda.
Oh, Amanda, dude, I have no idea. Like, again, I was such a hater because, again, I was Team Cyborg, still am. So I really paid zero attention. And, whatever she's doing right.
She kind of came out of nowhere. She beat Holly for the belt, or did she beat Misha?
I had to find that out, actually, because and I'll even say this as I'm looking this up, man. The big thing too is like women's MMA is very different to men's MMA in the sense that it's still pretty new, and you're gonna have your dominant female fighters for a while. Who, let's see, no, not your main runner on me. Okay, so
that fight with Zingano was in 2014.
Oh man.
I would assume it was probably early in Amanda's career. She was fighting kind of a veteran at that point.
Yep. Yeah, just again, like we saw with this Gilbert Burns kid, it's one of those things, the rites of passage for the sport where you have to cross paths with some people who may kick your ass now, but give it a year or two later, you're going to destroy them.
Yeah. But as far as I can remember, Amanda just kind of came out of nowhere. And then
Dude, that's what with that again, women's MMA, man. What I from my perspective is you have your women who for a while they'll have like their year or two where they are the shit. You're not beating them at all. Then you'll have either a newcomer or someone like Amanda who goes back, reanalyzes everything, and comes back even stronger to the point where now, dude, she's the best female fighter.
right.
Just like how we had Ronda a few years back.
Right. And I don't think there's a lot of women just chomping at the bit to try to get into MMA. So there's a lot less competition for
Exactly, man. So it's just extra pressure for those chicks, man. And they're so ruthless. Like that's one weird thing, man. Like when I did my little MMA thing, trying to get a fight and stuff, I'd have to train with females because there were no females for them to train with. I felt like a dick because a light kick for me is not light for a chick that fights at 125, 115.
All right.
I look like an asshole, you know?
Right. But hey, you got to think if they're used to how you kick when
Exactly. They can handle anyone, man.
when a 150-pound woman kicks them, that ain't shit.
Exactly, bro. It's
Dude, and these women that are in the MMA gyms, they are tough.
yeah,
They're
man.
tough
They
as
make
nails,
me
dude.
feel like a pussy. Because it's the way their whole mental game to everything, man. It's something I could never even do.
Well, and you know how Squirrel is so successful because
Yeah.
he's so small and squirrely and fast and all that stuff. That's like, no offense to him, but that's the typical jujitsu woman.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Small, fast, and strong,
Yep.
and can just crawl all around you and twist you up like a pretzel before our fat asses know what's going on.
Oh, dude. It's even worse when the chicks know how to wrestle. Then you're really fucked.
Because then you get pinned and then stretched and
Get
twisted.
embarrassed, man. I've had that happen so much. There was a girl I've trained with out here. Like, I don't know if she won state or what, but dude, she double legged me, and I'm twice her size, and I'm not meant to be picked up off the ground. I'm not meant to fly. She kicked my ass, man.
Yeah. Hey, it's a humbling experience.
It is, man. That's why I keep on training.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Zach and I have been getting blown up in a group thread over here. Apparently, there are protests in downtown Johnson City right now. So if you're listening from the Tri-Cities, avoid that area unless you want to go out and be part of all that nonsense.
Yeah, man, dude. I don't know how things are going for you guys where y'all are at, but over here, man, what the hell?
Where are you at?
So I'm in Washington State. I'm really close to Seattle.
Gotcha.
And over there, man, it's been the whole Northwest essentially has been pretty crazy.
Gotcha. I have a buddy who lives in Everett.
Oh, yeah, man. Everett's like right between me and Seattle. I'm pretty close to there.
Oh, gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, man. So he should be safe out there. It's just downtown Seattle, dude. Places I've been to, like it was so weird. I don't know if you guys seen it. Some girl like walked out of Cheesecake Factory with the whole cake.
Yeah, I did see that.
I'm like, man, I've been there before and paid for a slice of cheesecake. Fuck.
The little clips and stuff that are coming out of the news are insane. And
Yeah.
while we're on the topic of MMA, have you guys seen that? I guess this morning, John Jones went out and like helped
the kid.
Yeah, he did that. He like stopped a kid from doing graffiti. And then this morning he went out and like fixed up some buildings and stuff. Like he put,
that's nice,
put plywood over broken windows and shit like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's pretty.
See, that's cool. I don't know that. Like Chuck Liddell also was seen, helping stopping some kids from doing dumb shit with all this.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to see what athletes are out and about. I guess, of course, some people might be like, who the fuck are you? But it's still cool to see them doing that.
J.R. Smith beat the
I
shit
was
out
about to
of somebody that
I was about to bring that
vandalized
one
his
up, man.
car.
He was not playing around. That kid was going to fuck with his car. And JR is like, nah, man.
You know what's funny is that happened on May 31st. May 31st, 2018 was the
Oh, yeah. I was about to
game.
say, like,
So May 31st is J.R. Smith Day officially.
he knew he was going this time.
Hey, he looked like he needed to be in an octagon. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe if the NBA doesn't work out,
All right.
Dana will be calling him.
Right? Hey, shit, after that performance, man.
But yeah, it is cool to see some of these guys and John Jones out there.
Especially him, dude. That he said something. If he's actually at least,
it makes you wonder if he's just trying to get good PR because wasn't it just 2 weeks ago he was firing guns in the hood?
So this actually was a month ago.
Okay, a month
it's been
ago.
3 years into 2020. With
That's
all the
true.
crap going on.
2020 has been the fastest, longest year of my
Oh,
life.
dude, I felt so bad because it's my anniversary on the 21st. And I told myself at the beginning of May, I was like, I'm going to tell my wife happy anniversary. I'm going to find a way to, allow us to celebrate it. She came up to me on the day of our wedding and was like, oh yeah, isn't today something? I was like, I don't know. And she was like, had to check her phone real quick. She's like, yo, it is something. It's her anniversary. I'm like, oh shit, we both forgot. It's,
Oh man.
again, we're halfway through the year right now. And it feels like we're in 2023 right now, man.
So many things have happened.
Too many things.
And if you live in Florida, you know that marks the start of hurricane season. So,
dude,
the hits just keep on coming in 2020. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that shows too, though, why Florida doesn't care about any of this, man. Like, I'm so used to like hurricane parties and all that. Like, it's just whatever. You just survive. You just wake up the next day and just focus till you got to go back to sleep until you wake up again, and it's the Florida state of mind.
I mean, it kind of is. I mean, Florida is just like the whatever.
Man.
If whatever had a face, it would be Florida.
Exactly, dude. It's like I lived in Orange Park as a kid for a few years. And dude, I'll never forget times where like my first hurricane, I think it was like in 99. I was freaking out. I didn't know what it was. My mom was like, oh, she grew up in Puerto Rico. She was like, dude, it's nothing. So I just remember us watching the Weather Channel all day, watching like lawn furniture fly by our windows. And she was just like, see, it's not that bad. I'm like, I guess, Mom. I'm just over there shitting my pants as a little kid, But yeah, dude, like, and that's just the normal Florida thing. Like, I used to work at a local business out there in Jax, and I felt weird because that was when I believe it was Hurricane Matthew. My wife was told that she could evacuate. She's in the Navy, so we went, getting paid for it, and I was like, telling my boss, I'm like, yo, dude, can I go? He was like, he was kind of bothered by it, I guess, but eventually he was like, it's good, man, just go evacuate, you're fine. Came back, dude. I was out of work for a week or two because we got fucked by the hurricane. Yeah. While everyone at work was like, "Oh, it's nothing," dude. Came back, we lost like $10,000 plus over that fucking storm.
Matthew was my first hurricane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not from Florida, so I didn't know what to expect. My wife has been here since like 95.
Oh, she's used to it then.
Yeah, she kind of grew up in Florida, and she lived elsewhere for a few years, but she came back and settled in Florida. So it was nothing new for her. And I'm over there. I'm the motherfucker out at the store, like trying to assemble a hurricane kit whenever everything's been picked off the shelves. I'm like, let's see. I can use this. I need to go and get the old school can opener because we're not gonna have power. So I gotta have
Mad Max. Gotta get this shit.
Right.
Like I was going full on like I was packing like my bags like I was going on a deployment or going to the field for dude. It was ridiculous. I had our entire bathroom because that was in our apartment that we lived in at the time. It was the central most room of our apartment. Yeah. So I decked it out. I had like a little like pillows and bedding in the tub so that we could lay in there. Cause we had Grayson at the time was like 9 months old or something like that.
Oh, man.
So he was a baby. And yeah,
that sounds like the worst first hurricane experience.
Yeah.
But you know what? It didn't even fucking do anything.
Yeah. Tell me about it, man.
We got a little bit of water in the like front room of our apartment, and that was the only room that got touched. But like you would have thought that we were prepping for a category 27 hurricane coming through the way that I was acting.
Because, dude, it is a real thing, man, when you don't know what to expect. It's like for me, man, I've never experienced an earthquake. And over here, they're prone to it. They're even expecting a huge one some point. You got people here, dude, to them, it's nothing. But to me, I'm like, I'll feel like or hear aircraft flying over. And, obviously, like with heavy duty military aircraft, you can feel that shit. And I'm just like, oh, it's here. It's here. And then just a second later, you could literally hear the airplane shutting off. You're like, oh, never mind.
That's great.
Yeah, dude. It's like I'm like, I know how you feel, dude. With
it is crazy though. Earthquakes aren't that bad. I lived through several of those when I lived in California. I remember one notable time there were like 23 small earthquakes that happened like within 2.5 hours or something like that. But it was
God.
all overnight. It was at like 2 o'clock in the morning or some shit.
Yeah.
Well, on the East Coast where my mom and dad live, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. So my mom was already awake for work, and she saw on the news that California was getting earthquakes.
20 earthquakes.
So she's blowing up my phone. My phone's on like vibrator, silent or whatever, because it's the middle of the night. I'm sleeping, and I wake up to like 15 missed calls, like dozens of text messages. Like, why aren't you answering me?
Oh, dude, she's setting up a candlelight vigil because she's like, I haven't heard from my baby.
I'm sure. Like, I had a billboard up outside the Walmart.
Right. Jesus.
Yeah, man,
Anyway.
I'm not ready for that shit, dude.
Yeah. Hey, 2020, like that's what's coming up next. Like, we're gonna have
Honestly,
an earthquake that just rips apart the United States, or we'll do it ourselves.
That sounds better than the shit that's going on. Like, 'cause, I mean, dude, I have to say this. Shout outs to the astronauts that left Earth at the best fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
jealous.
Get away, stay gone. I would.
Dude, they're so happy. They're like, not only are we doing cool shit in space, we got paid to do this. You know, like fuck.
I thought Elon was a little ridiculous to say that he wants to die on Mars, but I mean, if 2020 is any indicator, Mars might be the place to be.
Dude,
maybe,
I mean,
maybe this just reveals that Elon's a time traveler,
right?
And he knew this was happening. That's why he said all that back then.
Yeah, his kid's name is actually some weird future robot mystic spell to prevent any harm. You know, so I mean, that has to be it.
I believe it. I mean, I believe anything these days.
Him and Mark Zuckerberg, you know, they're not humans at all.
No, they're not. They're fucking aliens, and it's weird. Anyway, you guys got anything else you want to add?
Oh man, I will have to say this real quick. I'm really bummed because I am trying to get into hockey as well since I live out here. Seattle was supposed to get an expansion team. The name was supposed to be announced by now, but since I'm assuming the NHL season's still canceled, we're not getting that name this year.
Well, they're coming back, and maybe that announcement will be part of when they launch, or maybe it'll be part of the news Stanley Cup finals or something. But they're doing something like a 24-team playoff.
Something like that.
It's gonna be strange, yeah. But hey, they're getting back to it. NBA is trying to get back to it. NFL is still planning to go on as normal. So how embarrassing will it be for Major League Baseball if they're the only ones that don't come back?
Yeah, that'll be extremely detrimental for the sport as a whole.
American greed and American pastime to go hand in hand, I guess.
Yep.
Oh, well, Mig-E, why don't you go ahead and let the people know where they can find you and find the McDojo Show.
For sure. All right. So my Instagram and Twitter handles, all one word. My jujitsu is bad. MyJiujitsuisbad. My jujitsu is bad. You can also find me on the McDojo Show. You could subscribe to McDojo Life's YouTube. We'll broadcast there typically every Friday. Also find us on Instagram, man, with Wallow posting the coolest of flyers. So, check that out, guys, if you love, cool flyers. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, his photoshopping skills are a lot better than mine.
Dude, if I was on the dating market, I would just use all the photoshops that Wallow does with me, for like dating apps.
No shit. They'd be like, who is this? This is the most interesting man in the world.
And then they see me, they're like, oh, I'm like, I don't have my filter on, babe. And they'd be like, okay.
I'm all about that influencer life.
I'm all about that artificial beauty, girl.
Shoot. Can you imagine what it's like to be a fucking influencer? What a trip that shit is.
Oh, man. I dream of the day where I could tell someone, yo, buy Budweiser today. And people just to do that and then get paid by Budweiser. I would love that. Even though you'd see me maybe walking around drinking a Stella Artois because I'm too good for Budweiser. But I want Budweiser's money, damn it.
I mean, I would tell people to drink Budweiser, but I would just keep drinking Dr. Enough.
See, there you go.
That's who needs to sponsor the show. I don't know why they're not on it yet.
We've been saying it.
I mean, they've got they have my picture on their website. You would think that they would pay me for this shit eventually.
Right? I'm like, you're influencing people to buy Dr. Enough, man.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening. If you're in the local area, make sure that you tweet Dr. Enough and tell them to pay me for my likeness and pay me for all the promotion that I give them on this show. Tune back in every week if you like hearing me talk about Dr. Enough and or sports, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Peace out.
Thanks for listening. New episodes are recorded every week.